This is The Outer Worlds. We're here on Nintendo Switch 2. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is a game that I've thoroughly enjoyed on a variety of different platforms, taking a look at how it runs and how it plays. And I took a look at it on the, well, Nintendo Switch back in the day, and the results of it were not ideal. I mean, like, it certainly did run, as to say, but it wasn't the best way to play The Outer Worlds, but it was certainly something that was like, oh, you could play it on the go, which is really, really cool. Because if you're not familiar with this game, it's basically Fallout, but in, like, space, and a bit, like, satirical and funny, and it's definitely got some interesting vibes to it. And that's what I was trying to get across, is like, I think this game is really quite neat. I think this game is really quite cool. And on the Nintendo Switch 1, it was a bit rough around the edges, to say in the nicest of ways. And, like, we're not necessarily seeing, I guess you would say, massive changes, because they haven't done, like, a full update to this game. It'd be kind of cool if they did. I doubt they will, but you know, it'd be neat nonetheless. But we still benefit from an experience that is running a bit better, and loading faster, and looking better, which is quite exciting. Oh, you don't look too good. Let me put you out of your sad misery. So yeah, it's just kind of neat, because this one, so it had a resolution scaling to it, dynamic resolution scaling, and obviously they had to tone back a lot of stuff. Like, you know, the visuals, the the aesthetic, everything like that. Like, there was a lot of stuff they had to do. Can I not use this because it's 71 DPS? You do long gun, you do hunting. You're a good, like, these are all good weapons, but they don't really have ammo. which is not ideal for survival, that is for sure. But yeah, no, the results here are a lot better. And I know you're probably looking at this and being like, wow, this is like pretty murky and stuff like that. And it's like, yep, that was the Nintendo Switch. But hey, the big difference now is that from a visual and gameplay standpoint, really, I just put all that stuff on there. The game is just looking a lot better and running better, and as I said, like, the load times, it's faster, and that's kind of what you want when you're going in and playing games that were on the original Switch and just being like, ugh, I don't know, and then Switch 2 being like, ah. Now, it's still not as fast as it is on other platforms, which is a bit of a shame, but like I said, it is definitely improved. Put that away. This is going to use the fun gun right from the beginning. So anyways, you're probably wondering about the game's technical elements. So this is 1080p. If you are on the go, it's going to be 720p. It is 30 FPS, which I know isn't necessarily ideal, but you know, at least we actually get a locked 30 FPS now, which is nice. Which makes me wonder if, in theory, they could potentially bump this up further. I don't know for sure, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see if they do decide to do any sort of further improvements to this experience. That's the fun of kind of playing these games and revisiting them, is just to see how they run better on different platforms. It's kind of funny too, because like the backwards compatibility stuff for Switch too, it's like, it's nice, but it's also like, it really shows what the limitations of the Switch 1 were, and like, even though it can help overcome those limitations a bit by running a bit better and stuff, it's still like, you know, you can't necessarily fix up murky textures or load-in issues. That's something a proper update would be required for. So yeah, at least we've got, you know, a clear resolution that keeps its 1080p level, and a better frame rate that's actually smooth. these manti are really powerful. Seems like. So if you're not familiar with this game, like I said, it's basically like Fallout, but in space. It's a satirical situation where you are trying to survive. Things did not go well for you because you kind of, I guess you would say, crashed. Did it just heal itself? What are these monstrous creatures? Yeah, things did not go well for you, and you're like a colonist, and you kind of get waken up, as to say, you get awoken. Oh, come on. Why is it so brutally difficult? Really, the controls and stuff. So, yeah, things did not go your way. And now you kind of, well, you get to make yourself, you know, you pick some different aesthetics and settings, and then you go out and you, like, gather guns, meet some interesting people, make some choices that will impact areas. And from there, you attempt to survive, which is quite interesting. And then, of course, you can choose how you want to deal with and interact with the corporations that exist, and you make some choices and things that will impact the world around you, or the worlds around you as you visit different places. And I found this to just be a really genuinely interesting game. I thought the choices were kind of fun. They definitely do change up how things are and what happens to different characters, and then you've got your companions that will go with you and battle to the death. I kind of wasted the health on that one. Then you collect a variety of different weapons, fight all these different enemies, you make all these choices. It's a role-playing game, so you kind of rack up your your stats as you level in order to become more powerful. And then there's lots of little like ability things and stuff you can unleash, and you know, you've got your characters here and you gotta like manage their stuff that they have. And then yeah, it's really genuinely interesting, like what happens in this one and just the weird choices you make. Maybe my character's a bit under level for this. I don't know, I'm just jumping back into like a save I had sitting here from when I was playing this on the Switch. I just remember playing it and being like, taking a look at it and being like, wow, this is neat, but also just being like, this is not a way I want to really play this game, because you can play it in much better ways on other platforms. So it's more about the novelty of being able to take this out, you know, on the go with you, right? You could be like, okay, it's cool playing the Outer Worlds. You know what makes the Outer Worlds even cooler? Being able to play it out on the go. And like, it's the full game. You know, it's the full game, it's the full world. It's just you know, been cut back a little bit in regards to the aesthetics, the textures, and everything like that, but it's got the full scope, and it's not a bad way to play it now, if that makes sense. Like, it's definitely playable, and it definitely like runs fine, and it looks cleaner, and the performance drops. It's just like, if you are looking at playing the Outer Worlds, it's just like there's other options that exist. I don't know, it'd be kind of cool if they did try to do like an update to this game. Like, it would be one of those games where I'd be like, oh yeah, let's take a look at this on the Switch, because I think Switch 2 definitely has more like power, for sure, in terms of like actually getting this thing running better. Because like what we're seeing here is like, look at the pop into. Essentially, is they're just kind of like brute forcing it, right? They're just kind of running an emulation. They're like, okay, well, hopefully it runs the same, if not better, due to the extra power, and that's kind of the hope for this game, right? Which I think makes quite a lot of sense. That's what you would be doing for any back-and-pad title. I'm sure they haven't thought of this version in years either, because they're, you know, they moved on and they're working on all these other games, and it'll be really interesting to see how Obsidian sort of like support Switch 2 with Xbox's We Gave Up initiative. So you can definitely see that a lot more ports will probably be coming. Like, it'd be neat to see the follow-ups for this, like, there was, like, Avowed and stuff, which is very, very similar, I guess you would say, like, technologies? If that makes sense? Like, just, like, design-wise, vibe-wise. I mean, like, this looks okay, right? Like, it is super blurry, the characters are super blurry. The trees and the plants, they look super blurry, and you know, the textures are stripped from the environment, but it's still got the same sci-fi vibe. You know, it's got the same goal that they were going for. It's just like, how do we get this running on like a console where it has like no business being on? And that's what we ended up here with. But it really is a great game. Like, I do definitely recommend it. Like, it's neat that I could potentially take this out on the go with me and I could play, like, the full game. And that's really, really exciting. I guess it's just mostly whether or not you find this enticing. It's just, for me, I'm taking a look at this and I'm being like, it runs better, it looks better. That's kind of what we're expecting out of this. Could it be taken further? Probably. Is it going to be? Unlikely. And that's the situation we live with. So, yeah, as I was telling you, kind of the story is quite humorous. The idea is they have a lot of funny stuff that they are kind of pushing in this game, as far as, like, it's supposed to be a very humorous experience. The choices are supposed to lead into the chaos that you cause, and, you know, the problems that you are making happen here in the universe, which is kind of funny. And it's like the corporations don't really like... No, I mean, they like dealing with you to a degree. It depends on the corporation, and you know, everybody's got different goals out here in space and the colonies. It's quite a moment, and you get to use all these different cool guns, and oh, that guy's gonna absolutely destroy me. What I'm saying is, it's just like, the Joy-Con 2s are better, but it's still like such an awkward like controller setup to use. It's just like, from a vibe check, it's like, ugh. I just find it like harder to aim. I can't wait to play some of the shooter games, like competitive shooters on Switch 2, and see how those kind of go for the Joy-Cons, because it's just gonna be like, I couldn't imagine playing like a serious like shooter game when you've got like control stuff that works like this one does. I couldn't imagine it. There's also settings so you can make loads and saves, and then controls wise, some things you got like aiming systems, stick dead zones, and then you've got the gyro controls if you want, but I've turned those off because I hate gyro with a flaming passion that you could, yeah, not comprehend really. Really having some issues here fighting these enemies over and over again. Oh, and then something happens to you while you're in cryo, and then you can kind of slow down time every now and then, in case you were wondering, like, why I was occasionally slowing down time. I also remember seeing this at, like, E3 back in the day. I always thought it was a pretty cool game, so... It's actually kind of wild to be revisiting this game on, like, a new Nintendo console. Because I remember playing this on the first Switch, like, going out somewhere, like, when I was trying to, like, do a degree. There was attempts to try to do some serious coverage of Switch every now and then, like, off and on throughout the years, and I think Switch 2 is kind of like my big diving in and covering this console sort of scenario, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. I will say that for sure. Like, you can definitely see all the limitations and the drawbacks of the Switch 1 being present here, alive and well, but at the same time, you could sit here and be like, oh, the clarity is better, frame rate's better. You know, it is a Switch, so it's going to be limited by things, but I think it's maybe a good indicator of what we might see if they are going to port other games that are, like, present on other consoles. And you know, at higher level like quality and stuff, and then seeing how it all works out on the Switch 2 is going to be utterly fascinating. Or I'm going to be doing this with a Switch 3, you know, coming out down the road and just being like, oh wow, you know, we really thought they were going to be able to deliver with Switch 2, and then, you know, it's like, oh, now we need a Switch 3 to run some stuff better. I don't know. You'll see how many miracle ports and stuff there are at that point, but at least this is pretty good. I actually wish I had a lot more Switch 2 games to take a look at. My library is quite limited, but I know I've got the odd large title here or there where I'm like, oh yeah, let's take a look at this. Let's see what's going on with this stuff. This game did have 2 expansions, which was exciting. If you were on the other consoles, they essentially did like a remastering release or something. Like, it wasn't like a free update or anything, but it was like a second version of the game, and that didn't necessarily run well. But I did think it was kind of cool. Yeah, I definitely thought it was pretty cool. Take him out. That flamethrower guy. You gotta be kidding me. The flamethrower dude is like literally killing me. He's just roasting me alive. I don't like it. It's actually kind of driving me a little bit crazy seeing that guy do that. Like, I'm out here trying to switch it up, and then like that guy's just like, no, you will burn. You will feel the burn of the souls you failed. I just go, that's not fun. I guess I could kind of fast travel out of here, but it's more about taking in the area and stuff like that and seeing what it's like. Go visit this spot. That's the cool thing about RPGs, is visiting like little town areas and stuff and seeing what's out there. Just like the Outer Worlds, you know, like I kind of said, it was a lot more of a budgeted title. So like the scope of it was definitely not at the level that like other games kind of had, which you either appreciate or you don't. I like that this game wasn't necessarily never ending, and I've actually played through it a couple times, which is fun. And then like all the weird quirks and stuff you can do for your characters and the personalization, and it's sort of funny because like I've played this in so many ways over the years, and it's amazing the longevity of this one. But I can also see where I'm like, they could definitely have taken things a lot further and done cooler things, which is what I'm hoping the second one's gonna actually lean into doing. And then, yeah, luckily, like I said, Xbox gave up, so I don't see a reason why Switch 2 won't get Outer Worlds 2, but we'll have to wait and see how that one kind of goes. But I love the sci-fi vibes, I love the weird combat, the quirky action, the great companions that you have, the people you meet, the weird, incredibly weird things that happen. This game's got some surprises to it, needless to say. Oh, the dog got me this time? That's not cool. You're kind of embarrassing me out here, doggo. You know, I'm out here trying to run around and show things off and get people excited about the Outer Worlds. The dog creature's just like, you must die. I think this is the most I've ever actually died in this game, is this part here. I'm just jumping into a random save that I have sitting, showing off some different spots, and giving you an idea of the game. And I think that's more than fair, and an adequate presentation of the Outer Worlds and what it has to offer. So good luck out there, make it whatever weird character you want, if this is a game you dive into. I mean, I would prefer if they did a proper update to this game. I definitely think it could be taken a lot further, but you know, so far I would say this is a much better way to play this game now than in the past, which is quite exciting. Hi there.
How'd you get up